Welcome everybody. Let's let everybody pour in. If you guys could go ahead and do us a big favor and say welcome to Charles and the Pirate Traders. Good morning, Moonman, Sherm, Greg H, Amir, Adora, Patrick, Rosta, MW, Flying Pop, Otto, Lincoln, Scott, and Alex. Good morning.
Welcome, everyone.
Oops, I don't know if it's sharing. There we go. There we go. All right. So, Charles, if you want to go ahead and just start introducing yourself as everyone starts pouring in, and then we can get talking about the market.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you for swinging by to hang out with us here today. My name is Charles. I run a YouTube channel called Pirate Traders. You can find it just by searching on YouTube for that. And what I'm focused on as a trader is the two-way auction process. I trade the ES exclusively, and I'm basically just watching it intraday and trying to guess who's in charge of the market. Are the buyers or the sellers? Are they, causing whatever is happening in the market to happen at that particular moment? And I just take really short intraday type of trades. So I'm generally looking for setups that last anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours. I've been trading with the market profile for about 2 years now. And I started live streaming it just to have people to hang out with during the day. So I wasn't trading alone. And one thing just grew into another. And now we've got a giant, awesome community, a lot of which are here hanging out.
That's awesome, man. That's real similar to kind of how we started. It was actually a friend of mine that started the stream and was trying to get me to come on the stream. And I've been trading for a while. I started trading the profile probably about like 4 years ago, I guess. But I used to trade options before, uh, and then I never wanted to stream because I wasn't really sure how it would go and everything, and then just kind of grew in similar to your community. We just kind of all group together and have a nice community where we're just trying to keep the job away, not trying to make a
Yeah, I
make a
guess that's
million
the goal,
bucks,
right?
just not trying to have to go to work ever again.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like that old meme. Like I quit my job so I didn't have to work from 9 to 5, but now I work all day long or whatever. It's like one of those jobs where you think it'll be easier, and then you end up having to put in more effort.
Yeah, seriously. And I was saying that yesterday actually on my stream. 'Cause I was going through your website, and your website it's awesome. It's really nice, easy to use, super. Let me just pull it up real quick so everyone can see it. Super organized.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like it. I'm not very good with the website. So there's Charles. Let me get to see his face. Um, and it's a great website. And everyone should be checking it out for sure. And it's super. This is cool right here. I like that. I
There
mean, it's
you
just
go.
a lot easier than a lot of other websites. You know what I mean? It's just a really well put together website. So it's cool to jump on there and then, see another person. Like, I mean, you just look like a regular dude. And I'm not saying that as a slight or anything, but it's just nice to see other regular people that are out here doing this, not just like, the suit and ties and everything like that.
Yeah, no, that was a very intentional decision using that picture. I wanted people to feel like if you just wake up and sit and trade in a t-shirt and jeans, then you should feel like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to talk about the market a little bit or?
Sure. I mean, I can mention basically what I think is going on right now. Um, are you going to share my screen or should I just talk on yours? You don't have to share mine.
You could share yours if you want to have you just have to click the share and you'll be good to go.
Oh, I think it is sharing. Yeah, it's showing mine is sharing right now.
Oh, hang on, let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to see it. I don't see it on my screen. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Oh, okay, there we go. Now I can see it.
Do 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 do. The audience is like, "What's going on?" Well, I'll just start talking. That way, they got something to listen to in the meantime. So essentially, what I was talking about earlier this morning is I think that we've got ourselves a look above and fail that took place in the overnight. There we go. So, this is something that we call a balance area here when the market gets stuck in a certain range and it just kind of bounces up and down inside that range for a while. So, yesterday, the market tried to break out. That's a very bullish signal that often leads to continuation to the upside. But the fact that the overnight pulled back down all the way inside that balance area once again increases the odds that we're heading to the opposite end of balance. And the push that got us up out of balance on Monday was on a lot of weakness. So all of these references are what we call weak references. That which just implies that the buyers that were buying there were short-term traders, like day traders who were just looking to make a quick buck, not necessarily, stronger swing traders that are looking to take the market higher. So with those two things in combination, the fact that we looked above that balance area and then failed back in, and the fact that we left this much weakness behind, in my mind, increases the odds that we're heading down to repair that today. And then looking for support probably around 39.72.
Yeah, and I can't really I got no counter objections because I'm positioned the same way. I'm looking for the same trade. Looking for that poor low to get fixed. Maybe some buyers under there, but at least down to that poor low would be the target. It just makes sense here.
So are you looking at, is balance area something that you use in your analysis?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So then here's the ultimate question. When did you start to call this over here a balance area? When did it
Um,
trigger in your mind as that could be forming?
on the second day, because you have the Globex sessions, I don't have them on. Let me see on mine. So I'm more looking at um that what date is that? The 8th and the 9th. So I had
Mm-hmm.
the 8th and the 9th as kind of a 2 day balance, and then this kind of look below, it failed below, came back into balance, and I just kind of kept the same balance area. And then yesterday, same idea as you, is we had that breakout of balance. Today's idea was to monitor for continuation. My flip point for yesterday was um what was it? It was 59.75.60, really. Like that was kind of the level where if we got below that level, it just seemed like the market was, you know, the buyers yesterday were just kind of weak, I felt like all day yesterday. Same with sellers too, but below that 60, I just felt like we're probably going to be, looking at today's low. Unfortunately, it happened during Globex, so I didn't really catch any of it until the open today.
Okay. Yeah, I was a bit slow on this one. I didn't really recognize it until we were into the third day because I didn't count this as balance, even though it was rotational. So technically the market was balancing. I saw it as excess. And I was really disappointed because I would have caught this perfect short back down, but I wasn't sure yet that we were balancing. So I missed it. But you were there sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it was
So you
just,
beat
I,
me to it.
I don't know if it was really beating you to it or anything. It was just kind of, I was kind of expecting it just because of all the sentiment in the market was really just getting towards that. Everything that I was seeing, because I like to watch other videos and just to get the sentiment, what is everybody else thinking on the street? And then pretty much try to think the opposite. And everybody was kind of thinking that, at that time that the market was going to be going to zero and we're going back to like, uh, everyone was screaming for like 3,500 or something like that. So I was like, oh, well, if tomorrow doesn't make a significant low, the market may bounce right here. But it actually might have been better. You might have been better off because on the third day, that that day that you're talking about, I was actually getting long at the low of that second day. Um, and then, I mean, thankfully at the end of the day, it like gave us a little spike and gave us some idea of kind of that it was going to keep going. But, I was getting long that third day and didn't have the best day, to be honest. I got chopped up a lot that day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just feel like the big move I missed on that day was like if we expand out the profile. It was like right at the beginning of the day, people in my chat were like asking me, "Is this a look above and fail?" Like up in here, and I was like, "No, no, this isn't a balance area." Like, man, what a gorgeous short that would have been. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that was a nice one.
that's how life goes.
Right. Yeah, you can't catch every trade, that's for sure. Um, yeah, so do you mind if I ask you some questions? Just
I would love that. Hit me with it.
okay, awesome. So the let's start with the top up, right? So what's your daily routine like?
Okay, well, I could tell you what is a proper daily routine and then what my actual daily routine is. The proper way to do a daily routine is to start with, like you say, a top down sort of approach where like you would open up charts and you would look at, whoops, um, you'd start by looking at like the monthly chart and give yourself some perspective there, then open up the weekly and the daily and so on and so forth, and just kind of give yourself a bird's eye view of what the market is doing, then start to kind of zoom into the internals and figure out what's going on intraday and in the overnight. But I've gotten to a point now where I'm pretty lazy about it in the morning, honestly. Like I can just open up a chart and pretty much based on whatever the overnight did, I have a pretty good idea of how to look at the market first thing in the morning. Um, so like the live streams that I do on YouTube, I generally open up the chart like 2 minutes before I go live and just kind of glance at what it's doing. And then you can hear me in real time if you watch the first 5 minutes of my stream, just discussing what I see as the potential scenarios. So almost every day I'm coming up with a scenario where if the market was going to go higher, what would it look like? If it was just going to rotate around and go nowhere, what would it look like? And if it was going to go lower, what would it look like? So I've got every day I've got all three potential scenarios in my mind. And then I'm asking myself, based on the references that I'm seeing, in my experience, what's the highest probability one to happen? And then that's what I look for trades in whatever direction I think that is. So there's not a lot of prep in terms of like putting in time. The prep is more like just from experience. I can look at the chart and very quickly kind of see what the market's doing.
Right. But when you were first starting out, would you be looking, monthly, weekly, daily, every day just to make sure? And then yeah, like now you've been doing it for a while. It's like riding a bike. You get on, you already know which way the road curves and
Yeah.
just
And the
start to
other thing
ride.
is, this is something I learned from Jim Dalton is like, he teaches that what you should do is actually write out on paper every day what you think the market is going to do. So it's like I did that also for many, many months. Like every single day on paper, I would write out like in paragraph form. I think the market's going to push up to this level and find resistance and then head down to here or whatever. And the practice of doing that, it teaches your brain to really think analytically instead of just kind of guessing, instead of just like looking at a chart and thinking, oh, it looks bullish, I think it's going to go up. You have to actually come up with like a story for why the market will do what it will do, what participants will you know interact at what areas and what will that cause and so on and so forth. So I think that's really the most important thing when you're first starting out.
Oh man, preaching to the choir. I say the same thing. I really think just writing down your thoughts in paragraph format is so undervalued to so many traders wanting to do this full time, that if they would just do it, even though it's such a pain, it's just it's like an extra task you have to do. Like, I'm already gonna have to get on the computer and trade and think, but now I've got to write everything down. But it really does, takes you over that edge. A lot of people are struggling to be consistent day in, day out. And if they would just keep a trading journal, it might completely change their whole path.
Oh, 100%. I've never suggested to anyone they start keeping a trading journal and then they wrote me back and said that was bad advice.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone has the same response, like, oh my God, I'm learning so much about myself. I just never thought about these things before. And especially when you're talking about the trading journal, before you're profitable, you have to keep one, and you have to take the time at the end of every day to analyze every single trade you took, and ask yourself, why did I get in? Why did I get out if I got out before it reached my stop or whatever? And like, like you said, it's annoying because it feels like homework, and it's like forcing yourself to do homework. But man, the insights you can gain are so valuable.
Yes, yeah. I'm so on board with that same thing. It really isn't, and it's not only giving you an insight on your trading, it's giving you an insight on yourself too, which is, another thing that Jim Dalton always talks about, how, trading is so psychology based, and really until you understand yourself, it's going to be tough to understand your competitors in the market, and it's, make trading a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and understanding yourself helps you understand them. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
today is a perfect example. I've been preaching over and over today that this is one of those days where the market feels like it's going to reverse. Like, you want to go long all day long, but then you just randomly find yourself down at the opposite end at the end of the day. Like, that's one of those insights I gained from me doing this. There have been so many days where, like, we have a look above and fail, and then all day long, I'm trying to go long to catch the move up. And then at the end of the day, we're down here. And I'm like, how the heck did I miss this all day long? It was just slowly moving lower. But yet my brain insisted on seeing it go the other way. So, like, this morning, when I saw those buyers stepping in right there at that poor low over and over again, I just knew the market had to go lower, because that would have been me back in the day. And I would have
But
been wrong.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm the same way. I try to preach, we're not watching price, we're not trying to be right. We're focused on trading value, and value is obviously lower. We're one time framing lower. I mean, the market just is going down, and you're going to have an easier time trading with the market than trading against the market. That's 100%, and it's something that you struggle with early on. And then, of course, when you look at it in hindsight, like you're saying, like you'd be buying there, and then you look at it at the end of the day, and you're like, this thing went straight down. I mean, yeah, it's grinding down now, but like, you're like, why was I getting long if this thing just went straight down all day?
Yep. It's one of those, like, one of those rules that I have for myself is, when the market is one time framing a certain direction, I never trade against it.
Yeah, I'm the
Right.
same.
Like, it's just a hard rule that I've learned from looking at my journal and seeing because I would keep that as one of my data points in my journal. Like, am I trading with a trend or against? And I would just see, once you look at it over a couple of month period, you're like, oh my God, I have a terrible win rate when I trade against the trend. Just stop doing that, you know?
Right. And then that's the thing, is without that journal, you're never going to realize that, because it's so hard to go, to remember exactly what happened yesterday, because you're processing so much information while you're actually trading. It's hard to remember those little minute details unless you're writing them down.
Yep.
Um, let's let's switch directions, since we've talking a little bit about psychology. What's your favorite book that you think has helped you with your progress in trading?
So I would say, without a doubt, I know it's very cliche because everyone always recommends it, but Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
Yes, very
That is
good.
a book that I read and reread. And the second time I read it, it was a humongous change. It was like, the first time I read it, it was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, he's talking about these interesting concepts about psychology, and using your psychology to develop your trading. But it didn't really click with me until I then traded live for many, many months, and then went back and read it again. And with that perspective, I was like, fuck, this book is literally just like pure gold from the first page to the last. Everything is valuable in there. So that's the one I recommend.
Awesome. Yeah, I that's a great book. Yeah, and that's right, Alex. It is free on YouTube. So if you don't want to buy it, or you just want to listen to it, yeah, it's right there on YouTube for sure.
There you go.
He said, Pop said, when you trade every day, I think the prep time can get less and less because you already have good overall perspective. Well, what happens is it's not really getting less and less, and this is just my personal opinion. It's not really getting less and less. What's happening is you're getting into that state of unconscious consciousness. So like it's not like you're getting on the computer and having to check the box for all of the things you need to look at. Okay, the market's doing this, what's overnight inventory doing, blah blah blah. Right? Your body's, it's like breathing. You get on the market and you just kind of already know because you're used to it as the routine. So it's not like it gets less and less, it just becomes more natural. So it becomes more the habit builds.
Yeah, I completely agree. The example that Jim Dalton uses is backing your car out of a garage. Like the first time you do it, if you've never driven before and your dad's like, all right, son, let's go out and have a driving lesson. The first time you go to back your car out of the garage, you have to think about every detail. Like you're like, where do I put the keys? What angle? How hard do I push when I'm starting up the car? I got to put my foot on the brake. I got to, like, you have to think about every little thing you're doing. But then after you've been driving for a year or two, you don't think at all. You can be on a phone call while you're backing your car to the garage. Like you can just jump in your car, start it up, back out without thinking at all. And that's what it basically is, that muscle memory.
Right, right. Um, let's say what would you say are the best qualities that make a good trader?
The best qualities that make a good trader: introspection, the ability to honestly look at yourself and your psychology and your behavior. One problem that a lot of people have is that they have a hard time recognizing their own weaknesses. They're great at recognizing weaknesses in other people, but they're not good at recognizing themselves. So introspection is the one, and then the other one is discipline. Without a doubt, the one word that most describes success in trading is discipline. You have to have discipline in learning a system, developing it for yourself, and then every single day enforcing yourself to follow your rules. Discipline.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually really like that. It does take serious discipline, and that accountability I think is so key, especially you've got to be able to be accountable to yourself. And we at the Trade Vets do this thing, we have it like an accountability tab where people post their things every day so they can remain accountable. And if you can't remain accountable to someone, it's going to be hard to be successful, or at least consistent, and remain that discipline, because if you struggle keeping yourself accountable, it's going to be almost impossible to maintain that discipline like Charles is talking about. So yeah, I agree, those are two must-haves for for trading.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people fail at trading, because it's just not like other industries. Anything else you want to learn, you either go to a school where you have like teachers to teach you and to again hold you accountable, make sure you're doing your homework and your tests and everything, or it's like a mentorship type of thing where there's a mentor that's showing you how to do it. But this is like this weird industry where we learn by ourselves on YouTube.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so it's you have to find ways to be accountable, to have that coach or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing too is, if if that's something that you're struggling with, just find a buddy or find a friend and use them. Be like, hey, I'm going to tell you everything that I do with trading, and I need you to tell me when I'm being smart and not being smart. And then that all goes
Yeah.
back. If you don't have that, you've got to use your journal and do it for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm sure your Discord is the same as mine. I mean, there's tons of guys who post every trade up in there, and then they give each other feedback, and it's so valuable, just to get some perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we we mo- we mostly post like at the end of the day, but I do with a couple of people individually, like have them send me their trades and stuff. and then share trades so we can, yeah, just give feedback and, figure out, how to grow from there.
Word.
What would you say was your biggest struggle understanding, because I'm a big preacher of the two-way auction and how important it is, and really, until you understand the two-way auction, it's going to be difficult to be successful in the market. So what would you say was your biggest struggle understanding that and then applying it with the profile?
Boy, it's a great question. Biggest struggle with it. Um,
Well, let me rephrase real quick,
yeah,
I guess.
let me try to approach the question from a different angle for what really like cracked the code for me.
Right,
So
yes.
for me, what it was liquidation breaks. So I used to be, before I learned to read the profile, before I took courses with Jim Dalton, I used to be a scalper. And I was just watching, regular candlestick charts and taking scalps all day long. And every now and then the market would do this thing where it'd either be going sideways or maybe it'd be going lower or whatever. And then out of nowhere, it would just break and it would just sell off like crazy. And every time this happened, I would get eaten alive. I'd like try to go short and then it would pop back up and I'd try to go
Mm.
long and it'd pop back down. And I used to literally like scream at my computer when this would happen and just be like, what is like, why are people selling down here when they're 2 seconds later, they're buying up here? Like I was just so frustrated, not understanding what that is. And then Jim Dalton teaches what a liquidation break is and teaches this concept that oftentimes a market has to break before it can rally. And that what happens is when you get that break, you squeeze out the weak hand buyers that were buying up here, and you give strong hand buyers, patient swing traders, a chance to get into a trade at a discounted rate. And so because they're buying at a discount, they're going to hold on to it much longer, which gives it the momentum to get continuation to the upside. So anyway, Jim explained that concept to me, and it stood out in my mind because that particular thing had frustrated me so many times in the past that it really stood out to me. And then all it took was, after that course was over, me seeing it happen a few times in real life. The market would break, and instead of getting fearful, I would say to myself, wait a minute, is this just giving stronger hand buyers a chance to step in? And I'd watch that volume on the way back up. And if there wasn't much volume, I'd go long and then make this huge move higher. And I just thought like, oh my God, this is magic. Like it was like, this awakening moment where I was like, this is pure magic. And so that gave me the confidence to start watching the auction as a two-way, or start watching the market as a two-way auction from that point on. And just real quick, since we got people watching us live here, we're looking to keep the price below 4017 here if we're going to continue this trend to the downside.
And what makes you pick that 4017 level?
Because the TPOs here, we measure the end of the auction as getting 2 TPOs above the previous. So if the D period were to get, right now I'm in 2 tick increments, so it's actually a full point above. But if it gets a point above that C period high, that is the cessation of the downtrend.
Mm.
So that's the level I'm watching.
And we never fight this one-time framing down. No point.
There you
And
go.
I was actually really glad that you said that too, because I say that same thing all the time. Like when it's one-time framing down, there's just no reason to go against it. Even if you were to get this big move down and then it rips back up and you nailed the bottom, more often than not, if you were to look back at your trades when you, like, I mean, just like you said, that's how you figured it out. You find out that trying to be right, you end up being wrong a lot more often than if you're just patient and just wait for the trade to set itself up.
Yeah. And that's another one of those little nuances you can only learn from experience, that like, I would say a big part of my success now is being okay with missing trades, like recognizing, like you say, so let's say right now there would be massive liquidation in the D period and it were to go repair all this weakness. I would assume we're pulling right back up, into this area, but I would not go long because of the one time framing. And I'm fine with missing that trade. I'm fine with missing those profits because I know probability wise, the rule of never going against a trend will bring me a lot more money than this one time I break the rule. So yeah, but that's like, it's so hard to explain that to new people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a tough crowd these days where a lot of people they just want to see you make fat gains today, you know, and they don't want to understand that you got to make $1 before you make $100, and you got to make $100 before you make $1,000, and that's just how it works. You don't ever get to skip over these smaller numbers. And the way that I explain it to my guys is, you know, you think about the Major League Baseball is, you know, they've got double A, triple A, single A, or single A, double A, triple A. And a lot of times when you get drafted, you don't go straight to the pros. You go into these minor leagues and then work your way up. That's why a lot of professional baseball players in the MLB are, you know, they're not in there till 24, 25, mid 20s, even late 20s, till they're actually playing in the pros. And in trading, that's really how you have to look at it, right? You can't be just getting on today and expecting to just hit big winners all the time. You just got to learn how to get on base before you learn how to score.
Yeah. And it's also another thing that new traders don't understand is how position sizing affects psychology. Like I was very lucky when I was learning how to trade back in the day. I found a group of people of traders that were like, I lived in LA at the time, who would meet up and hang out. And I met a bunch of these old, like retired traders who had been trading for 20 plus years. And it's like, they would tell me they make like 100 grand a year or 200 grand a year trading. And I'd be like, why don't you size up? Like you know, you've been doing this for years. You're really good. Why aren't you making $1 million a year? And they explained to me that for them, when you size up too much, it affects your ability to make good decisions, and then you lose money. So it's like you have to figure out what is the maximum risk I can handle and still think clearly. And so that's another thing I think a lot of people don't understand about size.
I agree with that too. It really does, you know, it changes the game big time. A big thing for me, I was starting to have a lot of success, and some family members were asking, you know, like, hey, can I give you some money and you just trade it and we'll just go from there. And you know, I helped out my mom a little bit. My dad is actually Lincoln Haven in the chat. I just started teaching him how to trade futures about 3 months ago, and
What up, Dad?
he's already a funded trader, and he's actually doing really well. It's almost annoying how well he's doing. He's about to get on a flight. Um, but yeah, I mean, it really did, like, you know, when I was like looking for plays for family members and stuff, I'm thinking to myself like, you know, like I feel like you know, if I lose my money, it's like, whatever, you know, it's mine. But if I start losing like family members' money and they're like, well, what's going on here? Why are you doing this? You know, blah blah blah. It's like it really does affect that psychology.
Yeah, back in the day, back in like 2018-ish, I guess end of 2017, my boss at my job asked me to trade some of his money because I was like killing it in crypto at the time and bragging about it like a total noob.
Yeah.
Um, and I like lost like a couple $1,000s of his money in a trade, and I just paid him back with my own money and was like, no, I can't. So I'm never gonna try that again.
Yeah, even now I'm at the point where, you know, I'm constantly trying to test my edge. I'm more like you. I like intraday, like you know, shorter trades for the most part. I mean, sometimes you get some nice, you know, 20, 30, 40 point trades, but I'm not really taking much risk long term. I don't really like to carry a lot of contracts overnight at all most of the time. But if I do, it's very seldom. Um, and it just, you know, it's like one of the things that it's tough to get past, you know what I mean? Like it makes me not be able to sleep if I have contracts on and I'm not watching it. It's tough.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
exactly the same way. I can't have trades on overnight. I'll be climbing out of bed every few hours to check on them.
yeah. Yeah, same way. Um, what would you say are some of your biggest struggles that you have with a bias? or things that you've learned how to do to combat your bias?
Yeah. So the bias is a tricky one because you got to have a little bit of a bias. Because if you don't have any clue what the market's doing, then how do you trade? How do you decide whether to go long or short? So you do want to have some kind of bias, but the trick is you can't be influenced by it. So it's something I still struggle with every day. I mean, it's a tough one to overcome. But it's like once you're convinced you understand what the market is doing, the best way to avoid missing out on the other information is to be open to it. So it's essentially like you have to constantly be asking yourself, how am I wrong right now? What would the market do? And I would know I'm wrong. So for example, right now, I think we're heading down to repair these weak references down here. I'll know I'm wrong if the D period gets above the C period, right? And by just knowing that ahead of time, by what happens is if the market goes back up here and we get that cessation of the downtrend, I actually feel smart, right? Like I feel like I was right because I did think of that as an option that could have happened. And so I'm not totally wrong. It was just my second choice that got picked. So for me doing it like that, it really helps me to stay open to all the information.
Yeah, that's genius. Yeah, so you're right no matter what happens, like, and that's a good psychology trick because, you know, you're that's I think that's something that people struggle with is a lot in trading is when they get into a bad position, they're so afraid to cut a bad position because they want to be right. And
Mhm.
so with the way that you have that, or the way that you have it explained, like looking at it, okay, this is one, this is two, this is three, like, it gives you that opportunity to satisfy your brain's, your natural human instinct that wants to be right, but also, be, on the right side of the market and stay, or not let that bias kind of influence you or influence your trading and cause you financial discomfort. So that's
That's the
awesome.
goal.
Yeah, that's a key thing as well, of getting the insight to the opposite side of your trade. That's one thing that I like to do is, if I'm taking a long, well, someone's taking a short. Why are they taking a short right here? You know what I mean? And same thing vice versa. If I'm taking a short, someone's taking a long. Why are they taking a long? And try to get that insight on what are they thinking that's making them see this, and am I seeing the market backwards or something like that?
Yeah. No, that's such a powerful tool. The expression that we use is when what should happens doesn't. It's
Hmm.
like if I'm sitting here watching a chart and I think it's going to do something, when it doesn't do that thing, my brain switches instantly. Like the bias is done. And now I'm going, wait a second, the thing that I thought was going to happen isn't. So that means the opposite is happening. Okay, maybe these are stronger hand buyers or whatever. It's like that instant ability to switch is a really valuable tool.
Yeah, that's super important. Would you mind talking about how you utilize, if you do utilize any like correlation? Like, I know you have the NASDAQ up right here or the NDX. Do you look at bonds or oil or anything like that? The dollar?
I don't. So this is just a thing for me, like as an individual person. What I have found is I have more success the simpler I make my analysis. So the less things I look at in terms of the different type of indices that I look at, and the less like indicators and tools and things that I look at, the easier it is for me to trade. Now, for some people, the opposite is true. Their brain needs lots of different components to add together. But for me, it's really about keeping things as simple as possible. So my main focus is just this chart that you see in front of you, the market profile chart on the ES with the 30-minute TPOs. And then I click back over to here. This is the market internals. So I've got the breadth of the market, the advancers versus decliners, and then the ticks for the NYSE and the NASDAQ. And then over here, this is just the SPX and the NDX on the 15-minute candles. So I've got all of these. I keep them all on 15-minute candles, again, for simplicity. So my brain doesn't have to jump between different time frames and try to calculate the differences in the shapes of the candles. So I keep everything at 15 minutes. And this one over here, the ones that are on the right side of the screen, I'm really only watching those for this white line, which is the 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. The reason I use the SPX and the NDX is because they don't include the overnight hours. So it's got to be just the moving average that's calculating in the regular trading hours. But that is a very common support and resistance intraday. So that's what that's there for. And then the internals just kind of give me a under the hood look at what's happening with the market. So for example, the way I would read them today, you got the advancers versus decliners pegged at a low price. That increases the odds that the market is going to continue to trend lower. So that's a sell every rip and buy every dip sort of signal. You got the breadth over here, which is trending lower. So that is bearish to see. And it's below the zero line. That is also bearish. And then the ticks, you can see all day, they've had a terribly difficult time getting above the zero line. And that is, of course, bearish. So those are really the only like confluences that I look for. If I see something happening in the profile chart, I just click over to confirm that I'm getting a confirmation with the internals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Keep it simple. I like that. And that's, very similar to me. And that's kind of what, when I first started watching your channel, that kind of drew me in, because I always talk about how until you start understanding the profile, all the other tools that you want to use or that you think may help you, and they may, right? I hate to say, like, if you want to use RSI doesn't work, or if you want to use the stochastics, the stochastics don't work. I don't want to say stuff like that, but I think that they can be a distraction or be worse towards you until you understand that profile, and then you can possibly add those things to use them as a confirmation bias, kind of like you do, like like, let's say if we're trending up, all of a sudden we get a pullback, we take a peek at the tick's smacking below 1,000, but price hasn't really moved down. Well, that's telling us maybe a buyer is just getting ready to bring this thing back up, and these guys aren't very strong, right? That they let this thing fall down and it wants to pop back up.
Yeah, 100%.
That's cool.
It's all about the two-way auction process. I don't feel like people need market profile per se. That just is the easiest way to read the auction process.
True. Yeah.
But that's what they got to understand is, like, who's in charge of the market right now, and what are they trying to do?
Yeah, exactly. And how well are they doing it? It's such a I mean, it's so similar because we both learned from Jim Dalton, but it really is that it's that simple. Like Jim breaks it down fairly simple, and it's almost like some of the people's my what I believe oh, nice, finally. Let's go down and get that 80. What I believe is people's biggest struggle is that two-way auction process, and understanding that it really is just that easy. That's the thing, is like, they're like, oh, it can't be that simple. If it was that simple, everybody on YouTube wouldn't be telling me to use the Donchian channel or something, something like that. And then a lot of times too, you get people using things that they just don't fully understand the concept, and then that makes it not work. Honestly, it's like, trying to if someone give you a bike and told you, all right, ride it backwards, you're like, what? It's like, what a bike is, how it's supposed to work, but until you like really understand it and practice on it, you can't just jump on there.
Yeah, dude, that's what I preach to everyone. I always say everything works. If an indicator exists, RSI or whatever, it's because it worked for some trader somewhere.
Right.
But you just have to become a master at it. You have to become, an expert at how to use that before you can really count on it helping you.
So true. Can we recommend any good books on the two-way auction or videos?
I just always recommend Jim's books,
Yeah,
Markets and Profile, and Mind Over Markets. I think those ones are pretty good.
And then just, tune into Charles's live stream. He's live every day at the market open talking about the auction. So, jump on his live stream. Uh, he
For sure.
he'll talk you
Don't
through
miss
it
it,
for
man.
sure. Yeah. I've been tuning in every day because I normally in the mornings I've got to take my kids to school, and I'm on the West Coast right now, so until I get to the East Coast I won't really stream the open or anything. I don't really get on until a little bit later.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I've just been tuning into your channel, and this morning when I heard you say like I think it was during B period, we had a poor low B period bounce, and you were like, hey guys, don't get tricked. This thing's coming back down. I was like, yes it is.
Yep. Uh,
That's awesome.
well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's just nice to meet someone that's kind of out here doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like you're out here. I mean, you're putting in a lot more effort than me as far as helping other people out because I mean, your website, your program, your consistency, it's just just it's good. It's nice. And just to get to talk to you and you're doing it for the right reasons, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out here that are just trying to get 1,000 views or well, I guess that's not a lot. What's a lot of views? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
Whatever a
mean,
lot of views
that's
is.
been my thesis from the start. Was that like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to be what so many other YouTubers are, which is just like you say, looking for clicks, and they don't really care about actually helping anyone. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in a way that actually makes a difference in people's lives.
Right. And that's what I always tell these guys. I'm not trying to like for me the biggest success would be to see everybody become a successful profitable trader and be on their own. Oh yeah, there's also an e-course on Charles's website. That would be something definitely to check out.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but they're if I can teach all of them to trade, just as good as me or better than me, we become more powerful as a community when we're all trading. And if I don't notice something like imagine if we were back on that day and we were trading together on that Wednesday and I was like, hey, this thing's looking like balance. This might be the high of balance, and you would have been like, oh hey, looks like we're gonna break down into balance. We both could have got short and caught that huge ride down.
There you
Just
go. Yeah, no,
bouncing
and
ideas
it's
off each other.
another funny thing that I've noticed is like the satisfaction I get from the money is very minimal. When I get the text message to my phone or the email telling me that somebody new is just subscribed and I just made $10, like I get very little satisfaction from that. But when I get an email from somebody who's like, hey man, I've been following you for the last 3 weeks, and I just wanted to write and say you've completely changed the way I look at markets. I'm so much more in control of my emotions. Like that makes me feel amazing. So it's
Right.
like I didn't even intend for that side of it to come into play, but it's like it's actually more rewarding to help people than to make money.
It is. It totally is. I 100% agree with that.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I know you got your private stream. If you want to give like over your website real quick and kind of shout everything out, or just so where people know where to go to find you.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me just pull it up.
Cortman says
Yeah, so you
it's a
can head
very
to
good
the
course.
website. There's a
Too humble.
sorry. You can head to the website. There's a link in the description of the YouTube channel that'll take you there. And if you're interested in checking out the e-course, you can just click right here on check out the e-course, and that's where you would buy that. It basically teaches you the two-way auction process and how to develop your own system from scratch. That's basically what I preach is like, I don't teach you how to trade the way I trade. I teach you how to develop your own system for yourself. So that's all included in that course. And it's about 4.5 hours long. And then if you're interested in joining the brigade, that's our membership group. You just click on join the brigade there. It costs $10 a month. And yeah, we got a pretty cool little community going.
And it's only $10 a month, guys. I know I'm definitely gonna be joining it as soon as we get out of this stream. Just it's $10 a month to have another opportunity. Like I said, Charles streams. You said you stream all day in your private chat, like till the market closes,
Yep, every day.
right? And so I'm only streaming like a couple of hours a day, so $10 a day you can get Charles live all day, and you're getting good quality. Yeah, finally, there goes that poor low.
Yeah, man, we had to work for it though.
Yeah, I know, it took all that damn day. But yeah, I mean, like, it's cool that you're doing it, and the reasons that you're doing it just make it that much better, so that's awesome.
Well, I look forward to doing this again, man. We should make this a regular thing.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. Yeah, just let me know the time and the time and the place. I'll be moving this summer, towards the end of June, July. I'll be driving across the country because I'm moving to the East Coast. But then my hours become a lot easier because I'm not on the West Coast anymore. Because just waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning is just becoming
it's funny. I used to
thing.
live in LA and I miss the early hours now, but I'm a morning person, so it was never hard for me to get up. But I miss being done with work at like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that is a nice thing. That's for sure.
All right, my dude. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.
Oh, here, I'll just share. Alex said I'll just share the Discord. Yeah, so I don't do anything. I don't charge for anything because I'm just not as consistent. And so, but I do have a Discord, so if anyone wanted to join the Discord and just kind of hang out, or ask questions or anything like that, definitely feel free. There's the Discord link right there.
Yeah, you should definitely get an inflow of pirates in your Discord today.
Awesome. Yeah, just if you do flow in our Discord, we try to keep it very cordial. I know Discord can get a little crazy. We try to stick away from telling people that they're wrong and really just giving them perspective, right? You can tell people that that you disagree with them, but you don't have to be like, hey, your idea is stupid. We can keep it civil. So let's do that in that Discord.
If you could keep that going, that's a powerful skill to have.
So far we've been okay. I've only had to go in really like on one person. We had a person that just like it was back in the crypto days. That's how I got like the name Bitcoin Brad, because I was trading Bitcoin mostly. I was trading futures, but trading a lot of Bitcoin back then. And we got some people coming in saying that the market profile doesn't work, and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, well, it's working and it keeps working. So I don't know what's the deal.
While you brought up the subject, not to get us going down a whole nother tangent, but what are the settings you use for Bitcoin on your profile?
I use 5.6. Where is it? So I use 5 ticks, and then I also have this setting on where, what's this called? It's like because you know how like the ES tick size will be 0.25. I just put it on in 5. So like every tick is actually $5, and then I run it at a 5 tick rate. So really every tick is $25 on Bitcoin is how I look at it.
And are you using one of the 24-hour charts, or are you using the futures?
I look at the CME profile a lot to find my spaces to enter, but I trade on Bybit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but there is like, I mean, for a lot of people that are looking to trade crypto, or at least get a feel for crypto, they have the CME has those micro Bitcoin futures, and there's some liquidity in there. It's not too hard to get filled and not too hard to get out of positions, and lets you look for like a bigger move a lot of times, and not as costly on the micros for sure. So
nice. Yeah, I haven't even looked into those.
Yeah, they're starting to get some love. A lot of the CME is trying to drop a bunch of products like that. They're trying to drop, I think, of BNB futures, ETH futures. They're trying to drop a bunch of futures just to get I don't know why.
Fees.
I guess so. Yeah, just to get those.
That's what they want. They want them fees. They want a little taste.
Yep. And that's another thing I tell people too. Oh, we could talk all day, man. I'll let you get going. We'll do this again sometime for sure.
Yeah, we'll pick up right here talking about crypto.
Sounds good, man.
All right, dude. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Later.